Hey folks, welcome to today's edition of ShopTalk. This is our weekly Monday opportunity to sit down together and talk about whatever's on Riley's mind. Actually, today we're going to be talking about concealed carry tips. You know what? I'm going to move this camera. I'm decided I don't like that angle that well. I didn't have a better option at the time. Let's try this. Oh, no wonder it's acting funky. I had some slop in the mount and I realize now it's because the mount's not actually tight. So, yeah, I'm just sitting here in the conference room at the office, and today I was like, let's talk about just some good old-fashioned concealed carry tips. All right, so yeah, I got a couple things in mind, but also I'm open to any questions that you viewers may have. We do have a special offer to share with you today, so I encourage you to stick around. We'll spill the details on that here in just a bit and let you know what that is. All right, so hello, Gary and Eric and Sean and another Sean and John and Mitch and Tris and Jacob's watching. So, concealed carry, right? Hopefully you're doing it, or you're on your way to doing it. I know there are some of you that may even live in some non-permissive environments or in states where getting a permit is very difficult. But let's just talk straight up about some common tips, or at least some tips. I don't know if they're so common. I don't always necessarily see these things talked about regularly. So I hope that this will be helpful to you watching. And I'm happy to be sitting here with my concealed carry family, and appreciate y'all for joining. Got a good number of you now, so that's great. Hello, Logan and Gary. Thanks for joining, guys. So what are some of those tips that I don't necessarily see discussed that often that I think are really good tips? Hello, Tawny and Craig, of course. Nate's watching too. Jay from Pennsylvania, thanks for joining, guys. Chrissy, thanks for joining in. Yes, Matthew, thank you for the engaging conversation. I just try to say it how it is, brother. So today, again, talking about concealed carry tips. So let's jump into it. All right. So the first one I'm going to give you is to pay attention to how you dress. All right. Now that's easier. I mean, it's easy to say that, right? And not talk about really what that means. But let's talk about a couple of things I think that are helpful. All right. So, and I'm gonna stick away from some of the more obvious things, like if you wear an inside waistband holster, chances are you got to up your pant size, to the next size or something like that. Or wear a shirt that's a little bit bigger than usual. Maybe a size up, even in some cases. That's all a given. If you carry a gun concealed, we've got to take considerations about how, like the actual clothing we wear and the size of that clothing. Women, a very common style these days for concealed carriers, you'll see a lot of kind of flowy, shirts or blouses being worn, and that seems to work really well. In fact, I think women have some great advantages. A lot of times we probably tend to focus on the disadvantages of being a lady and wanting to carry a gun and think that it's actually really challenging to do. But the reality is, with really well selected clothing, particularly with the shirt, you actually have a lot of great advantages, because you can wear some stuff that guys can't wear and get away with it. Because if I throw on some shirt that's all, flowy and billowy and lace and or whatever, I don't know. I don't even know what you call half that stuff. It would look pretty silly. So guys' attire is generally pretty straightforward as far as a shirt that hopefully isn't like ridiculously oversized or something, but you're not going to have folds and multiple layers and stuff like a lot of the ladies will. All right, so anyway, but let's talk about some other things that actually apply to both women and men with concealed carry, okay? And so one of the first things, Let's see. Gary says no sound, but I haven't seen any other comments from anybody else about no sound. So, guys, give me a thumbs up. Sound's working okay? Riley and Lace. In the same shirt. Hey, I actually specifically wore a shirt, in case Ben is watching, I wore something I haven't worn on camera in a while, so that's for you, Ben. Eric says thumbs up. I assume that means for the sound. So, Gary, if you're having a hard time hearing, maybe you ought to check your volume button, buddy. Sorry. So, first tip that definitely applies to both ladies and guys, and that is black. Black is a great color, or lack of color, that does really well with concealing firearms, all right? Black is very convenient because it doesn't really show folds and shadow. That's probably the biggest thing. When we get folds and bumps and bulges in our clothing, one of the things that cues people onto the fact that there's something underneath is they're able to actually see the fold or the bump or the protrusion, because lighter colors, okay, particularly like blues and greens and even reds, and I mean basically anything other than black is going to show very easily a shadow, right, cast from the light. If I was sitting here in this office, I mean, under this office light, you see there we go, there's a good little fold right there. You see that shadow line, right? Okay. But if I had a bump sticking out, let's go over here, and I got something sticking out, you're going to be able to see that there's differences in the light and the shadow. So anyway, black does a really great job because it's harder to see shadows and bumps and bulges and things. So number one tip is, where possible, wear black. It's pretty hard to go wrong. I wear a lot of black. It's not necessarily my favorite style or color, but it's convenient for concealed carry. It conceals very well. Craig says black is slimming. That is true. So, let's see. Printing is not illegal. Depends on the state, Curtis. Depends on the state, buddy. Some states, well, so Florida would be a good example. Open carry is still not allowed in Florida, right? And so depending on how your statutes are written, if it's similar to like the way things are here in Colorado, if you print in Colorado, you have nothing to worry about necessarily because we have open carry. However, in the city and county of Denver, open carry is against the law. So if I was caught printing in Denver, and it could be construed as being open carry because it's no longer concealed. Concealed in Colorado means that it is not only visible, but you can't, what's the word? Help me out, Jacob. There's a word. If someone can basically tell that you have a gun because it's printing, then it's no longer concealed. And if I was in the city and county of Denver, I could potentially be charged with open carry, all right, unlawful carry of a firearm. So, Curtis, it depends on the state that you're in, buddy, or the jurisdiction. But more importantly, I really do think this is the more important factor. I think there's a definite tactical advantage to being concealed and remaining concealed and not showing my cards to everybody. So tactically, it's smart not to print if you can help it. So anyway, wearing black is a good way to go to help with that, to avoid printing or to make it less visible. Matthew, try wearing black in Northwest Florida or South Alabama during the summer. Guess what, buddy? I've done it. And you can too. It's not ideal, right? I get that. Black is a hotter color for sure. Chris asks, what are your thoughts on clothing from 511? Guess what? I'm wearing it. This is a 511 shirt. I'm wearing 511 pants. I'm wearing a 511 hat. What do you think? I like 511 a lot. There's other great clothing companies out there, but 511 is definitely one I like a lot. Matthew says, I like grays, slightly darker grays. Grays can also work pretty well, but you got to be careful. I've seen some grays that something about the shade or the color or whatever, that gray, that can really almost accentuate a bulge or a print more than it can help. I've also seen some instances of people wearing white. And I think where the lighting, like if you're out in bright sunlight, I think white could probably work pretty well, as long as you don't see the, sometimes, if it's a thin shirt, you don't wear a black tank top underneath a white shirt, right? So if you have a black gun concealed underneath a thin white shirt, that's probably not ideal either. So anyway, but I have seen where white can work very well. Thank you. Discernible was the word I was looking for, Jacob. Appreciate that, buddy. Yeah, so we got to be careful about, so in Colorado, the way the law, this is actually from case law, where our definition of concealed carry comes from, that if something is discernible or apparent by ordinary observation, then it is no longer considered concealed. So we have to be careful in jurisdictions like Denver where that's a problem. All right, so, and again, I already talked about the tactical advantage of making sure you are concealed and stay concealed. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through the comments real quick. All right, so black is good. In fact, I meant to bring in, I had a black shirt in the truck with me today, and I was going to bring it in, but just as a prop, but I forgot it. So let's talk about another thing. I'm wearing this kind of, what do you call it, plaid, I guess, styled or colored shirt. This is also very helpful in in concealing a weapon underneath as well. Okay, so having some sort of busyness and a pattern is a plus. So the classic like Miami Vice or Hawaii 5-0, like some kind of crazy patterned shirt, a Hawaiian shirt, a floral shirt, stuff like that, conceals really well. But I don't necessarily like wearing a floral shirt or Hawaiian style shirt everywhere. In fact, that in of itself can almost be a tell that, if looking at other factors, looking at an individual, depending on their shoes or their pants or that sort of, or how they carry themselves. If I saw somebody that I go, that dude looks like a cop, and he's wearing a like Hawaiian shirt, chances are there's a reason he's wearing the Hawaiian shirt is to conceal something. But styles like this are a lot more common in today's world, and so this kind of shirt has still got a little bit of busyness and pattern. You can even see how there's subtleties in the patterning, right? As far as like you have these darker lines, lighter lines, this sort of thing like is actually quite helpful in concealing things underneath. So now, one thing that's important to realize though, this kind of pattern works very well, but stripes usually don't work so well, especially horizontal ones in my experience. So I have a polo shirt that I happen to really like. I like to go golfing sometimes too, and this is a shirt that I would wear golfing. And so I threw on this polo one day. I was carrying concealed and wasn't even really thinking about it. I threw it on. And it's just got kind of like stripes going like this, right? I threw that on, and I stood in front of the mirror, and I'm like, oh, wow, I could definitely see my gun. I could definitely see a pretty, like way more obvious than just about anything else I could wear. So we want to be careful about just stripes, especially horizontal ones, because our eyes are very good about picking up patterns, right? Or breaking of patterns. Probably even better. Our eyes are probably better at picking up or noticing a break in a pattern, right, than the actual pattern itself. So if you look at somebody wearing a striped shirt and there's something underneath it, you're going to see that break in the pattern. You're going to see that those horizontal, nice straight lines all of a sudden aren't horizontal in a very specific place. So, and the same can be true. It's less of an issue with vertical stripes, but it can also be a factor. Horizontal ones are the ones you really got to watch for. So something kind of like this seems to work pretty well. In fact, I could stand up for you here and let you see, and this is not like, I didn't press this or anything. I just, it went to the wash, it went to the dryer. I threw it on. I'm not going anywhere fancy today. I don't necessarily care that specifically about how I look. But, I'm carrying basically a full-size gun. I'll pull it out of the holster here. This is a P320. actually with the X Compact grip. I've talked about that a little bit recently. And underneath the shirt, with that kind of pattern and everything, that pretty much disappears. So anyway, that's another tip, all right? So patterns, busy patterns especially, things that make it harder to see, those bends and folds in the fabric, really good way to go. So black, busy shirts, patterns, some grays, sometimes white. Those are all things we can do to help conceal a gun underneath. A couple other things. This is a pretty common technique with the ladies, but there's some crossover too with the guys, but a very common style that I see from concealed carriers, female ones, would be like they'll have multiple layers. So like they'll have whatever shirt or blouse underneath, and sometimes that one will be a little bit more, maybe it has more folds or it's just a little bit more of a, well, I need help with the terminology, but it's just kind of more of a, I call it flowy, just like a lot of folds and stuff going on, and then like layered over top of that, sometimes like another shirt. Having that second shirt, and that a lot of times seems like, and it's kind of almost like throwing a jacket over top of things, so that's where it crosses over a little bit into the guy's world. Just sometimes being able to throw over a jacket is going to really help. Like if I was wearing a jacket right now, almost regardless of what I was wearing underneath as far as shirt, throwing that jacket over top, that jacket's going to come down about here. That's going to cover a lot of this area that I'd be concerned with. And of course, anything, a jacket or a second shirt over top is going to cover, especially anything that's in the IWB position. So anyway, layering, yes. I think I said layering. I got that part. Anyway, folks, you should go check out, sorry, I saw Sean's comment, and would black undershirt work better? Sure. Mine's always white. It just is. And especially, like if you are wearing an undershirt, and I do recommend undershirts, especially with concealed carry, because I like having a layer between me and the gun, okay? So a white undershirt is going to be cooler than a black one generally in the warmer months anyway. So anyway, I was going to say, ladies, you should go look up guns.com. The shooting editor is, help me out, Jacob. Gosh, I'm struggling today. What's her name? Jackie Billings. Jeez. Over at concealedcarry.com. Jackie has written for our site too until she got promoted at guns.com. And so Jackie has, if you go find her Instagram, Micro Jackie, I think it is, really good place she's got all kinds of different ways she shows how to dress and carry a Glock 19, for instance. Really good channel, really great person to follow for tips on how to dress and conceal guns, all right? Not for us fluffy guys. What's not for you? Plaid? Is that what we're talking about? That could be. I've seen it executed well. I think you just got to know how to do it. Thoughts on the HK VP9? It's a good gun. There you go. I'm not crazy about, I know some people like it's gospel to them, it's life. John Correa feels that way about the mag release on the VP9 or on any of those HK guns. I'm a traditionalist as far as how we see it in America. I want a button, push a button, release mag. The paddle release is not my favorite, but it's a good gun and they're reliable. All right, Cammy? Yes, thank you, Jacob. I finally remembered. I feel like such a dork. Let's see. So, all right, so there's two tips, right? So color and also pattern. All right, so here's another thing. This is something I don't really see talked about a whole lot. And that is just about the idea of giving your body some time to get used to concealed carry. I don't really see this come up in conversations like ever. Maybe it's not actually a thing, but I believe it's a thing. After I have concealed carry for a long time now, and as I've talked to more and more people who conceal carry, as I've worked with and instructed and taught students, I have developed a personal opinion that I think, just like certain things, shoes or holsters sometimes, or clothing or guns sometimes need to be broken in. I think our bodies sometimes need to be broken in for concealed carry. The first time you go to concealed carry a gun, especially inside the waistband, you're probably, no matter what holster you use, no matter the quality of that holster you use, you're probably going to go, ooh, that doesn't feel that comfortable. Duh, because you haven't been putting anything inside your waistline for. Got interrupted by a phone call there. So, of course, the first time you stuff something inside your pants to carry concealed, it's going to feel less comfortable than ideal. And especially if that holster or gun combination is Kydex or rigid or anything like that, it's going to feel even less comfortable still. So that's, of course, why we have holster companies. I'm not going to mention names here today, but there's a lot of holster companies that make a hybrid holster or a holster that's soft, sometimes holsters that are made completely from leather. The idea being that it's a little bit of padding, a little bit of flexibility, all that stuff is going to increase comfort, and it does. But I also think that sometimes we make our holsters more bulky than they need to be. And I think that probably has its own inherent problems with comfort as well. But what I'm getting to, regardless of the holster that you choose, the bigger thing is that I think our bodies take some time to get used to the idea that we're packing around a gun. All right, so I use it as an example. Yesterday I didn't carry inside waistband at all yesterday. Sundays, actually, I quite often carry OWB. I go to church. The way I dress for church, and a lot of times I wear like a jacket or a suit coat, and so I got an outside waistband holster that I will wear on Sundays. A lot of times when I get home from church, though, I'll switch back to IWB. Occasionally, when I'm feeling lazy, I'll go with a pocket holster with a 380 or something. Yesterday, I got home. It's Father's Day. I was enjoying my time with my kids and my family, and hopefully you all had great Father's Day as well. But I decided, I was going to really dress down for the day. T-shirt, gym shorts. I threw a pocket 380, with a pocket holster in my pocket. Called it good. So I went a whole day's cycle without carrying anything IWB. And this morning I got up. I started getting dressed like my normal routine. And I went to stick my holster and my gun in the waistband. And this is what I'm carrying right here. This is a 100% Kydex holster with a pretty good sized gun. I went to stick that in, and while this particular holster and gun combination is generally comfortable to me, I hadn't been doing it for more than 24 hours. Suddenly I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot what that feels like. It takes me a few hours to kind of go, okay, yep, back in the regular, flow of things, back to business, okay? And so because of experiences like that, I've come to the conclusion, at least personally, I think our bodies have to kind of get used to it. And so especially the newer you are to concealed carry, it's almost like I have a callus, right? Whether it's even IWB or appendix carry, there's almost like there's this callus that I've developed there. Obviously I'm speaking somewhat figuratively, but that's kind of how it feels to me, because I get very quickly readjusted back to the idea of carrying a gun inside a waistband. But somebody that's brand new to carrying concealed, I think it takes a while to get used to that. And I think there's a lot of concealed carriers that start doing it and get discouraged very quickly, because early on it's a little bit of a rough transition, I think, for most people. And that usually leads people to, this holster doesn't work, let's try something else. That one doesn't work. And so we end up in this endless chase for the perfect holster. Now, that chase, I don't know if it has ever really concluded for me, but I have some very specific needs and requirements as it relates to a holster. I think I'm getting closer to that all the time. In fact, what I'm carrying with right now, how I carry appendix and all that stuff, I think works very, very, very well for me, comfort-wise. My point being, though, that I think concealed carry requires some time and patience and discomfort, and we got to kind of get over that initial hump of discomfort, and then it gets a little bit better from there. All right, does that make sense? And you need to kind of commit yourself to just doing it every day, because if you don't, you'll kind of fall back into the, you'll be like, oh man, it feels so much better not having that gun on me. And then it's a lot harder the next time you go to carry the gun. So now for me, I don't worry about it. I went a day yesterday without carrying my traditional way, my usual way. But I know I'm going, because this is my lifestyle. I'm not, going to suddenly go, oh, that hurts, and I'm going to not carry anymore. Anyway, so Joanna has really great suggestion, and this is a suggestion I've given before too, that wearing holsters at home for a few weeks help with getting used to it. I think that's wise in a variety of respects. Not only getting used to the holster and sort of breaking yourself into the idea, but also from a safety perspective, I think carrying around your home is, especially starting out, honestly, I would recommend that you do it the way I did it the first time. When I first started carrying concealed, I did it at home and I did it unloaded first. I did that for probably 2 weeks of just practicing around home, unloaded in a holster. All right. The reason I did that, well, number one, I read an article that helped me kind of go, oh, that's probably a good way to get used to it and a good way to practice the idea of concealed carry. It gives you the opportunity to try different things, try different clothes, try different, maybe even different holster options, different positions. The thing is when you first start carrying concealed, you don't really know what's going to end up being the ideal way for you or the ideal position, and there's always these little minute adjustments you might need to make as far as a slight change in the cant, slight change in position forward or backward, up or down. Hopefully your holster is adjustable and allows for some of those different adjustments, because I think that's important. And you want to figure that all out at home rather than away from home. Now, people have gotten in trouble being somewhere in a public space, maybe even sometimes in their vehicle, and they're like, oh, I'm just going to make this one little change. And in the process of removing their gun or removing their holster, whatever, they end up having a negligent discharge and hurt themselves. Those sorts of things should be figured out at home and experiment with that. And also you can ask for your family members' help. Hey, how does this look like this conceals? Does this shirt work? Do these pants work? I mean, whatever it is. I think those are all really good suggestions. I know there's a lot of comments coming in here, so let me go back and see if I can address a couple really quick. Let's see. Craig says, Riley, 100 on getting your body used to carrying. Takes a week or two. Great, awesome. I'm glad I'm not the only one that feels that way. Curtis says he needs to lose some weight. Yeah, you know what? I encourage you, brother. I mean, I need to lose some weight. I've been working on it. I've lost a couple of pounds. So, yeah, it's a good thing to try to get a little bit in better shape. Matthew said, I just made the switch to appendix carry, AIWB. I wasn't wearing the right clothes for it before. Yeah. All right. So, okay, moving on down here. Cammy says, I was looking at the FN, but when I grabbed that HK, it just fit my hand like a glove. I hear a lot of comments similar to that as far as those HKs I do think are some of the nicest fitting guns, as far as they just did a really good job of designing the grips on those to be comfortable in the hand. One little thing about that though, so the HK guns are very rounded and very smooth. The original SIG P320 grips were the same way, very rounded, kind of feeling the hand sort of thing. You'll note that on their latest iteration of their grips, the X series grips, they're a little bit flatter on the sides, more like a Glock, more like a Springfield. Smith & Wesson M&P, by the way, is the same, not like this, but the same as far as being kind of that more rounded profile. And I heard something interesting from Rob Latham once, who made the comment that a gun that's very round, and actually, I think he even said it in our podcast or maybe in our Guardian Nation Live, but he was talking about the grips, and where grips are round, like if you're grabbing a stick, it's harder to intuitively know where that's pointing, and that there's a little bit more intuitiveness to orienting the hand and the gun in the hand and pointing and getting everything lined up when there's some kind of a little bit more of a rectangular shape to it. You can know, oh, yep, that's forward. And I know that sounds kind of silly, right? But I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting thing. And by the way, I love this X Compact grip. It feels good. It's it's a good contour, but at the same time, I think there's something to be said about what Rob was saying that one time. Anyway, let's see. Bill says, I think it's great to carry IWB lefty. Most people are looking for the right side. Yeah, that's actually, there's some truth to that for sure. If I was looking at somebody trying to, especially as a law enforcement officer, cops are always concerned about this. I've been there where you're looking at somebody and you're trying to identify, is this person a threat, a potential threat? Are they carrying a weapon? That sort of thing. And you are definitely hardwired because 90% of the population is right-handed versus the 10% that are left-handed. You're definitely biased towards looking at that right-hand side. Yeah, and actually that'd be a little bit of a tip. If you're evaluating somebody, if you're looking at someone trying to determine threat or not a threat, as you're taking in that picture, you want to try to also identify if there's anything that's tipping them off to you as far as being left-handed versus right-handed. So look at how they handle their phone. Are they using their phone primarily with the left hand? Are they holding it with the left hand? That's not always perfect, but it's all these little pieces of information that as you take in, you're trying to figure out if they're right-handed or left-handed. That's a good thing to know sometimes. Sam says, took me a week to get comfortable with appendix carry. Now it's my preferred place to carry. 1 o'clock position. Same for me, buddy. Craig says, with gym shorts, he uses the Brave Response holster. I do too, actually. It's a very, very great way to carry in, like gym shorts, sweatpants, that sort of thing. Yoga pants. I don't wear yoga pants, but I know I saw someone's comment earlier about they would love to see me in yoga pants. I don't know why. Let's see. Yeah, just working my way back down with the comments here. Gary likes an inside waistband leather holster. That's cool. And apparently some other knitted small garment his wife made for the holster. Very relaxing, non-irritating. It's cool. I'm glad you're finding what works for you. Craig says, if you're wearing multiple guns, holsters, remember to train with what you carry. That means you alternate or backup guns, both shooting and drawing. Practice, can't say it enough. Well, no matter what you do or how you carry or what you're carrying, you should practice with it. Absolutely. Including if you carry a backup gun. Let's see. Cool. Tom, thanks for joining. It looks like you're heading out, but I'm glad you're able to join us here today. All right. Gary has a P365. It's a great gun. Yeah. Let's see. What different considerations do you take into account from pants to shorts, if any? It's a question from Sam, by the way. So I don't really change anything when I'm going from pants to shorts, unless, and by that I mean like standard shorts, right? Not gym shorts. Where I've got a true waistband in the shorts with belt loops, all that stuff. Like if I'm wearing shorts and they're not gym shorts or not swim shorts, then I'm also wearing a belt. So I'm going to carry the same way in shorts that I do in the pants. Unless, again, those are more of an athletic short or a gym short or a swim short, then I'm going to change it up. I might go with a Brave Response holster, or I might go with a pocket holster, just depending on the particular activity or that day or, whatever, or the specific shorts. I have some shorts that are not ideal for pocket carry because the pocket in them is either not deep enough or it's too flimsy or floppy. Like I have a pair of shorts where the pocket inside the gym shorts, it's, there's not a lot of structure there. So with a pocket holster, it's just sort of like flopping around and stuff. It's not really ideal. So I'd have to go with like a Brave Response holster in that case. Matthew asked about holster I'm using. Yes, this is one that's custom made by yours truly. Something I've been playing with, and I'm very happy with what I've been able to come up with. Going to range after show, shooting my P330. I've never heard of a P330, Gary. And your P365. It must be a typo. P320. I'm guessing you mean I see the correction there. Good job. Swim shorts and carrying. I mean, guns in the water, work in the water, right? So Ben is finally here and notices I've picked this shirt just for you, Ben. Matthew, about swim shorts. All right, so if I'm going to get in the water, I don't carry my gun. That's as simple as that. I've been to the beach where maybe I'm just playing in the kiddie pool with my kids. Like we went to, so there's this lake we like to go to here locally to us, and there's a nice little kind of swim area that's, just ankle deep, knee deep water at the deepest point. The kids love to play in it, and I'll go out there and walk around with a minute, but I won't really get in the water, and I'll still carry my gun. So I kind of need to know, and there's been times too where I've been at a particular event or doing a certain activity with my family, and my wife would be like, hey, what if, hey, why don't you go do this or jump in the water with the kids or whatever. I'll be like, no, can't do. And I'll just tell her like I can't do that. And she understands now, oh, I understand why he can't do that. So I try to know in advance what I'm going to be doing and make that determination ahead of time as far as how I'm going to be carrying or if I'm going to be carrying at all. So if you can't ever not carry a gun, see a shrink. Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. Well, I don't know if somebody has a psychological problem, but while I basically say I carry 24/7, I advocate for 24/7 carry. I advocate it for being a lifestyle. It also is a lifestyle. You have to recognize there are times where I can't carry or shouldn't carry a gun. It just doesn't make sense, or it's not ideal. Maybe that's a legal thing. Maybe that's I'm going onto a federal facility or onto federal property where I can't carry. Maybe it's the type of activity that I'm doing. All right. So yeah, it's not ideal necessarily to have to or to not be able to carry all the time sometimes, but sometimes it's just a necessity. It's a part of the lifestyle. And also part of the lifestyle is recognizing even if I can't carry my gun, I'm not completely defenseless, or at least I shouldn't be. I still have my mind. I should still have a strong mindset. I should still be aware of my surroundings and what's going on and of people in my vicinity and what they're doing and what if any threat is present. Maybe I have other weapons at my disposal that I could still use. All right, so anyway, let's see. I saw a question here. What is the best concealed holster to carry? I currently have a clip on one on my side. So this is a very common question, Wayne. What's the best holster? That is a difficult question, if not impossible to answer. All right, there's many, many good holsters to choose from. I would have to, for me to really do that one justice, Wayne, I would want to visit with you a little bit more one-on-one to ask you questions like, okay, how do you dress? What kind of activities do you do? Do you have children, that are around you all the time or not? What gun are you going to be carrying? How are you, what would be your ideal scenario for how to conceal that sort of thing? Like, there's just a lot that goes into it. All right, so anyway, that I wish I could give you a better answer than that, but that's pretty much what it comes down to. Matthew says, I wore appendix running around at the park with my kids yesterday. Being in front, I was super comfortable with having my gun. I agree with that. Some definite advantages to having that gun up front. I think as far as just retention and having control of it. Cool. Let's see. All right. Just making sure I want to make sure I address as many of the comments and questions as I can. All right. So we talked about color of clothing, shirt, especially stripes and things like that, avoiding that. Patterns. Those are good things to know as far as how to conceal or what to wear or what to avoid wearing to help with concealability. We talked about talked about the idea of having to get your body used to concealed carry. Okay, so breaking yourself in essentially is what I think about it, or how I think about that. And then another comment or a tip that I would offer would be just commit yourself to trying to do it every day. I know that sounds silly, and that's kind of closely related to that other tip I gave just a minute ago about breaking yourself in. It's pretty hard to get used to the idea of concealed carry and to break yourself in if you don't actually do it on a daily basis. It requires some commitment, it requires some time. And so, I've had students in classes and stuff that have asked about how to, do certain things as it relates to carrying a gun on a daily basis, I say, well, just do it every day. Commit yourself to it. Carrying a gun should be comforting, not comfortable. And it's probably not the first time you've heard that. I know I see people throw that out there quite a bit, but I think it's actually pretty true. Having a gun should be comforting, meaning I know I have a gun, I know how to use it, I've been training with it, I've been doing dry fire practice drills, whatever it is, but not necessarily comfortable, right? Because it's always, like, the one given about concealed carry is it's always more comfortable to not carry a gun, right? So if we always do what's most comfortable, then we wouldn't carry a gun. Or we make choices as it relates to how we carry guns that maybe are not as ideal. Honestly, carrying a gun in a pocket all the time is not ideal. Carrying a really small gun is not ideal. And that's the tendency a lot of times, because we want to try to make it more comfortable. The more comfortable we make it, the more encouraging it is to do so. But we have to have some balance there as far as not going too far one way, as far as go to the smallest gun possible in the least ideal carry position possible, because that happens to be what's more comfortable, and because it's more comfortable, I'm going to end up actually doing it. If that's what it comes to for you to be able to carry a gun, and you got to do all of that to actually be comfortable enough to actually do it, well, I don't know, you do you. But I think there's got to be some balance there. So that's why, for me personally, I've settled on, generally speaking, a mid-size gun. I still like my P365. I still carry it regularly, but a mid-size gun is better. It's easier to shoot. It's better to shoot more reliably and accurately. It fits my hand better, right? Is it bigger? It is. Is it less comfortable? Arguably so. But there's some things that I've done, and there are things that you can do to help make this a little more comfortable. And also, you just sometimes have to get used to it, buckle down, and suck it up, And I think again, like I said, I think the body gets used to that a little bit, and it's also a part of your mindset, all right? So to me, it doesn't sound like somebody is quite ready in their mind. Their mindset's not quite where it needs to be if they make all kinds of excuses, especially if it's comfort related, as to why they don't carry a gun. Well, that's okay. They're not quite there yet. There's some power of the mind involved as far as recognizing this is not ideal, or this is not as comfortable as I would like it to be, but I'm still going to do it because I know I can, and I'm going to be stronger up here than I'm going to, the mind is going to be what's strong and not necessarily the body, or the body being stronger than the mind. The mind has got to be stronger than the body for sure. So let's see. Yeah, good point, Craig. And that is a good tip. And of course, we did the whole episode where I talked about belts, and so that's why I haven't really bothered to mention it here today. But again, I shouldn't assume that everybody's seen that episode. But if you haven't, you should go back and watch the shop talk we did about belts. But a quality belt makes a big difference for concealed carry. It is often an overlooked item. It's often an item with newer concealed carriers, they don't even give it any thought at all. It's just not something that comes up sometimes for people. They think, I got the gun, I know I need a holster, and once they've got that, okay, I'm good to go. I already have a belt, But just regular everyday belts, and by everyday I mean like normal human, everyday belts, like belts that you wear to the office, that you wear for work, that you wear for dress, whatever. I mean, they're usually not ideal for concealed carry. We want belts that are a little bit stiffer, particularly in the up and down plane, meaning on kind of the spine of the belt. So as the belt sits on our waist, we really need this direction to be quite stiff. Twisting can be also a factor depending on where and how and what you carry and the weight, because if that belt easily twists, that will lead to the gun and the holster very easily trying to lean out from the body, or even sometimes flop over the belt. So we need some rigidity that way as well. But the most important factor is that up-down rigidity, because wherever that sits on the waist, it's going to try to do this. Okay, so we need that to counter that a little bit, because if the gun and the holster and the belt start doing this and the pants start doing this, then things start falling down and things are less secure. And when we go to grab the gun, it's not as consistent as it ought to be because it moves and it shifts and it changes. So we want things generally to kind of stay about where we want, where we initially wear the holster, where we put it on for the day. I want it to stay there for consistency's sake, and also for comfort's sake, and for security's sake. What do you do to avoid someone feeling your gun when you give a hug or stand really close to each other, where they might bump into you? Okay, so good question. That's another strong case for appendix carry. It might not seem that way, but generally when we hug people, we don't make contact with our waist, right? Because that would be awkward. So if I'm carrying a gun in the front and I'm giving a hug or whatever it is, kind of getting close to somebody, I'm generally not going to let them get close to my nether regions, right? So naturally and instinctively, we want to kind of protect that area anyway. So appendix carry has some really valid strengths in that regard. Now, IWB can still be okay, and where it's possible, or where, what would be the ideal thing would be to kind of more hug a little bit more on the side away from the gun. Okay, so if I was IWB right, just behind my right hip, then I'd be inclined to kind of give a little preference to my left side as I'm, moving in for a hug or whatever. All right. OWB at 3 o'clock around the waist, that's where I find it gets probably the toughest. I was once in a situation where with a family member at a gathering, and I didn't worry about it because they were a family member and they know me and I know them, and they probably know I carry anyway. But it's a good lesson because you could see how that could happen just about anywhere to anybody. But I was carrying that particular day at 3 o'clock OWB. I had a covering garment, and their hand, as we had a little hug, and their hand came down and just kind of nicked the top of the gun. And I knew that they knew that there was something there, and I'm sure they knew what it was. Again, I wasn't worried because it's someone that I trusted. But so behind the hip, IWB is probably okay. I think, frankly, appendix carry is the most ideal position to be in for those, close human contact sorts of things. All right, because again, I'm not pushing my hips into somebody when we're doing that. That's just not cool. So, question about how to tuck. Carrying appendix, there's not a ton of appendix holsters that make it possible to tuck, but I will just show that there are holsters that make it possible. So you see that this type of loop or clip arrangement where there's that space behind that clip, these are actually called struts. Okay. Not the loop, but the thing that the loop's attached to, those are struts. And so these are tuckable struts. And I have actually worn this with a shirt tucked. In fact, I did it once with a white shirt with a suit and tie and everything tucked. And I just billowed my shirt slightly at the top that it came down and just hung just over top of the actual buttons. And I mean, you couldn't tell at all that I was carrying appendix, a full-size gun. It was actually a Glock 19. So yeah, there's definitely ways that it's all about finding the right holster and the right holster design that makes that tuckable option an option. Let's see. Carry appendix. Yep, there you go. That's funny, Matthew. Bigfoot belts any good? I haven't actually worn one or tried one personally, but I have no reason to believe that they're not good. They look like they're pretty decent belts. They look strong and solid and rigid, maybe almost to the point of being too good and too strong and too rigid. You can get, when you're not carrying outside the waistband, and also I would say IWB behind the hip, like when you get in the appendix position, you don't need the strongest, most rigid belt in the world. You need a little bit of rigidity, you need a little bit of strength, but if it's really rigid, it'll actually probably create some discomfort because you might need things to kind of move a little bit. OWB, you definitely need a rigid, solid, strong belt. because it's outside the waistband and you're depending on that belt to keep things straight and rigid. IWB, it's arguably also fairly important. You don't need something quite as rigid as OWB, but a Bigfoot belt I'm sure is great for IWB carry. My impression looking at it and the thickness of it and the strength of it is probably not as ideal for appendix carry. Not that you couldn't. I'm sure that there's plenty of people that appendix carry with a Bigfoot belt, but it doesn't look like the ideal appendix carry belt to me. But that's just me, all right? All right, I'm going to start wrapping it up here, just addressing any last comments or questions. How do bangers keep their guns so secure without a belt? Dude, that is a great question. I want to know that as well, Matthew. So if you learn, let me know. Glad that Bill loves the podcast in-app. He's referring to the Concealed Carry Gun Tools app, which you can download at concealedcarry.com/mobile app. And we have not only reciprocity maps, state laws, but we also have our Concealed Carry podcast, the Not Your Average Gun Girls podcast, and the Firearm Trainers podcasts, all available inside the app, along with a bunch of other great resources. So yeah, the Concealed Carry Gun Tools app. Side hugs, yep. All right, so oh, you guys are funny. Yep. All right. Kenneth says I use the 511 reversible belt for OWB and a thicker lever belt for IWB. Interesting. I would actually find the reversible 511 tactical belt. It's a great belt, by the way. It's not the most rigid or stiff belt in the world, but it's adequate, I think. I've worn that one many days. It's actually a favorite belt of mine because it is so versatile. In fact, I still wear the 511 tactical reversible belt for airline travel. Because there's no metal in it, it's all plastic and nylon. The belt is nylon and the buckle is plastic. There's other good belts that fit that category as well. But the other thing I like about the 511 belt is it's reversible, so it's black on one side and kind of a tan or coyote tan color on the other side. So kind of depending on, I'm wearing my tan pants or my brown pants today, you might reverse it one way or whatever. So it's very versatile and it's stiff enough to get the job done. I like it a lot. But I would probably wear the thicker, more serious belt for OWB and the 511 belt for IWB. But we're just reversed in that regard. That's fine. Cool. Most comfortable holster for the P365 or Glock 48? Again, a challenging question to answer. And it also depends on where you want to carry, Chris. Yeah. Sean asked, what belt do I use? I like a couple different belts. I already talked about the 511 one. I do like it. But I'm also wearing the Viking Tactics Cobra belt. And there's other companies that make Cobra belts as well. And I like it a lot. At first, the big advantage is that I can put my gun and holster in and everything locks down in place, but I can very quickly undo my pants just by undoing the Cobra buckle. And my gun and holster kind of stay in place somewhat because the belt is going, the loops and everything on the holster are on one layer of the belt, and then the belt doubles back and it attaches with Velcro, and so it's over top. It just seems like it works really well when I need to undo the belt, undo my pants, do whatever. I can just click that buckle, it comes apart, and it very quickly goes back together again. So anyway, did I miss a loop or is that, Matthew, so that's where the belt's doubled back. See that? So I'll just show you real quick, guys, and then we'll wrap this up. So this is how I would put this holster on. I'll give you a little bit more of an angle here. Here we go. Okay, so this is quite literally how I do it. I start with the belt or the holster already as though it's ready to go. So like the loops and everything are already clipped. So I'll get it in position like that, make sure it's where I like it. And then I'm going to undo those loops. And then I'm going to slip that behind and slip that one behind. Give that a little tug, fold it over the top, click it together. Same thing there. And then that part of the belt just folds back and attaches there. All right, and then again, so you can see the actual buckle. You can see how that just, you click those two. It's almost like wearing a seat belt. It comes right apart. Oops. funny trying to do that in the camera. I'm watching the camera and trying to do it. All right, so that's the Viking Tactics Cobra belt. We do sell those in our store at concealedcarry.com. They're a pretty good belt. All right. So good stiffness. You know, I really like it. So I picked this one up from our store to give it a try, and I think this one was blemished anyway, and so I didn't want to sell it and have it go out, you know, to a customer. And just gave it a try for a couple of days, and very quickly came to really like it. So there are, again, other Cobra belt makers out there. They're not all are equal. The Viking Tactics one's pretty good. It's probably a little bit more of it probably errs on the side of overkill for some people. There's others that are not quite as thick or heavy duty, nor do they have this repelling, you know, buckle piece here, which is kept in place with that piece of Velcro. That's probably not necessary, but it's kind of cool. And so there you go. There's also Cobra belts by some other companies out there that are a little bit, they're not quite as wide. This one's like 1 3/4 belt. So there's others that are like just 1.5 inches or maybe even thinner. So advantage to doubling over the belt while wearing appendix is that the clips or loops are hidden when tucking. That is true. So, Matthew, just take my money. Just go on to concealedcarry.com. Cobra belt, buddy. We have some in stock. I don't know. I think we have all sizes in stock currently, but I'd have to go double check. But I think we have them. All right, guys. Alfonso, you can message me, buddy. All right, guys. So I'm going to let you go. Hopefully this is helpful for you today. Again, talking about some clothing choices, pattern choices, color choices, all that stuff. All right. So with that, I'm going to let you go. Tomorrow, just a quick tease. Oh, I didn't mention the sale. Silly me. This week, you can purchase the Concealed Carry Fundamentals DVD. That's this one. I don't know who that strange guy is on there. I don't know. That Jacob, I think, is his name. Anyway, Concealed Carry Fundamentals. Normally it's like $27.62, I think, is the price on this. You can buy it this week only. Okay, for $17.76, $17.76. Use the coupon code, I think it's CCF1776, CCF1776, and get this for $17.76. Why would you want to buy this? Because this is a great DVD. It's a great overview of concealed carry. Jacob covers other great tips and things in this. It's basically a video course. So you can get the DVD version of this for $17.76. This week only. Use coupon code CCF1776 on the concealedcarry.com store. All right, guys. So I hope you'll support us and continue to make shows like this and the podcast possible by supporting us through buying stuff from the store. That's how we stay in business. All right. So those of you that have already done that and continue to do that to be our customers, we really appreciate you. Thank you very much. Tomorrow on the podcast, I'm interviewing Jerry Michalik live. All right, you're not going to want to miss it. Super excited about that. It's a great opportunity. And yeah, it'll be a good show. So we'll see you back here tomorrow about noon Mountain Time, live with Jerry Michalik. And until then, take care, be safe. Catch you later.